I've been told that people who suffer from mental illness may be exempt from certain aspects of Sharia. If that's the case, so why is suicide punishable given that a lot of people that commit suicide surely have some sort of mental illness?
Okay, so Bismillah. They, there's there's two broad. Our religion is a religion of. This is the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all wise, the all just, the all merciful, and in that, right, not everything is black or white. Right, there's also gradations in between. So when we look at usul al-fiqh, there are those who are considered morally responsible, right? Who's the sane adult, who's an adult with full legal capacity, right? And then you have those who don't have legal capacity, children, such as children, or the insane, right? Those without legal capacity. But then there are also intermediate cases, because with children, there's a difference between the young child and the discerning child, as-sabiy al-mumayyiz, right? And the child is gradually morally responsible, right? Without being morally accountable, right? It is a responsibility granted as training for when they hit adulthood. Right? So they're generally encouraged, then specifically encouraged, then commanded with respect to the obligations. Similarly, not all those lacking mental capacity, right, short of full sanity, are at the same level. Right? So you have what's called al-majnoon, right? Someone who's legally insane, right, or lacking legal capacity. But then there are different cases of insanity. Right? There are some people who are bereft of sanity, right? Who day in, day out, they're not able to discern and distinguish between benefit and harm, right and wrong. They're not able to make informed choices. And that's one type of insanity. They're called al-junun al-mutbiq. The insanity that lasts. But then there's also al-junun al-tariq. There's incapacity that affects someone. That they may be sane at times and lacking sanity at other times. Right? And certain cases, that are, for example, in our times, like someone who's bipolar, for example, etc. In intense cases, they could be oscillating between when they have capacity and when they don't. But then there's also an intermediate state between full legal capacity, the aqil, and the majnoon, the legally insane, or the one without legal capacity, which is someone with partial legal capacity, which is called the ma'tuh, right? And a person with partial legal capacity, they're treated like the discerning child, that within to the extent of their capacity to discern, they're encouraged to do the good. But they're legally, so they're encouraged to uphold legal responsibility in the things within their capacity, but they're not ultimately legally accountable, right? Just like a discerning child, right? So different cases differ, right? Different cases differ with respect, and ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not hold the soul responsible for more than its capacity. Right? Now outwardly, we have a very nuanced, balanced, fair set of legal criteria by which to outwardly judge different types of individuals and their capacity. so that we are able to guide them towards their best interests. But ultimately, everyone, Allah knows every single person and where they are with respect to their responsibility. Right? So when it comes to suicide, the ruling of suicide is that committing suicide is prohibited. Right? And suicide is itself a major sin. Right? However, committing suicide is not kufr. Right? Sins are one thing, disbelief is another. Right? So, just as we preserve the lives of others, the first life that we preserve is our own. Right? And no one should willfully take their life. And that has implications in terms of end-of-life issues and so on. Right? However, if someone commits suicide, we don't hasten to judge. We don't hasten to judge. We don't know what triggered that. Like, is it, what was their mental state, and what would we call legal capacity at the time they made that decision, right? But the action is incorrect, and we have to be sensitive. Firstly, with respect to the person themselves, we don't know what state they were in. Number two, you also have to be sensitive to the living. Right? Their family has suffered a serious loss and so on, and so, but at the same time, we don't affirm the absurd. We are not, just as we're not there to judge in the accusational manner that was wrong, they're going to hell. Who are you? Are you the Lord? At the same time, we don't go into conjectural ruling as well. Oh, Allah will forgive him because he was in a bad situation. Like this, it's not your decision to make. Right? It's not your decision to make. Right? And these are sensitive situations. Most of the times, these kinds of confusions arise when things like that happen. Right? If within a family, within a community, right? They arise. Trouble arises in these kinds of difficult situations because of one of two reasons. One is from people who take religion directly from texts without appreciating their context and understanding. Right? So people say, oh, there's hadith that the person who commits suicide will be punished forever. No, there isn't. That's not what the hadith is saying. Right? What is the mafhum of what is the understanding, sound understanding of that hadith, right? That's one danger. And the connected danger is, especially of the application of specific rules to particular situations, right? Is a specialized skill, right? And that's why communities require scholars. That scholars of guidance, that when people deal with a sensitive situation, how do you deal with it with these considerations? Right? And one cannot take a ruling from a book and apply it to a specific situation just like that, without training, because the harm would be greater. There's likely harm. Right? There's likely harm. Right? So that's where a lot of these things arise, right? So, we should heed the divine command that فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, ask the people of remembrance, إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, if you know not. Right? And this, of course, requires attention to be supporting institutions and so on that facilitate scholars to be teaching in their communities. Right? That we have to have people in every community. It is obligatory, the fuqaha state, that there be fuqaha, that there be jurists who have the capacity, who have learnt our religious tradition soundly and reliably, and who are trained to apply that to the social and lived context of individuals and communities that they operate in. Right? And And that's critical. And we have grave shortcomings in that around the world. And that's of the most incumbent of furud al-kifaya, of communal obligations.